I know when I said job postings, you were really excited to get to this stage, but look, nobody, this is not fun. There are people who do make their living doing nothing but writing job postings, and I think even half the time they go, oh, job postings. They're not fun, okay? But they're incredibly powerful. They're an incredibly advantageous tool that you can leverage to make things happen. So let's take off the, oh, this is going to suck hat and focus on the, this is going to work hat. This is going to help you kind of motivate you to do the good work. So this is the first project, job postings. So remember that a job posting is the best and most common first impression you make on all your talent. For the most part, most of the people who start to think about working for you start when they read a job posting. Yeah, their brand was established or starting to frame in a lot of ways before that, but that is the moment when they say, I'm listening to you. That means what you say here really matters. This is the power here. This is the lever that's going to change so much stuff. The rest of what we're going to talk about is supporting, but really, this is where the power starts. So, you gotta understand the first principle is that job postings are not job descriptions. They are not. Job postings, or if you're in the UK, job adverts, both are the same. Job postings are marketing tools. They're commercials. They just happen to be formatted like legal documents because a job description is a legal document, is a thing that keeps you from getting sued. It is a way of saying, this is a job that requires you to lift 50 pounds over your head. And so when someone shows up in crutches, you can say, yeah, this job kind of requires physical activity that you physically can't do. I'm sorry, I can't hire you, and not be accused of all sorts of discrimination stuff that we don't want to get into, right? That's a job description. A job posting says, this is why you want this job. This is some information about what the job is, because not all job titles are exactly the same, and certainly most of them are so undescriptive as to be insane. But it's to describe what the job is, and the part that everybody forgets, why you want this. Not why you as a company want them to take this, not why you want this job filled, but why they should want this job. That is the part that almost everybody misses. And that's what we're going to talk about. And you think about your job posting like a commercial, that idea that you have 30 seconds to get an idea across, that's going to be super helpful. Think about a car commercial, again with the cars, right? I don't even own a car. Think about a car commercial. Now you know more about me. You see a Mercedes commercial and they're not saying, by the way, we have really good steel. They don't say, by the way, our wheels are round. They don't say that stuff. They don't talk about how to open the gas tank. They don't talk about what size spare tire they have or where it's stored or how to access it. That is for the user manual. Think of that as the legal document. That's the user manual for that job. The commercial is John Hamm from Mad Men talking about, you'll feel so good driving this car. People will be so impressed by you and jealous that they aren't you, right? That sort of thing. You got 30 seconds to say, this is the car that's going to make you feel this way. 30 seconds, and they're gone. That's the power of a commercial, and I want you to steal some ideas from that. Meaning, your job advertisement, your job posting should focus on how they're going to feel, on focusing on what they're going to get. Now, you don't see too many Kia commercials saying people are going to love you when you drive it. They talk about it's reliable, it's affordable. Sometimes they think it's cool, right? The young kids driving these Kias and they're cool cars or whatever, right? It's a focused message. They're not trying to tell you 10 things. They're trying to get you to think one thing. Focus. This is the kind of core of marketing. That's where we're trying to get to. The best way to make that happen, to be compelling, to set the frame, to say, this is how I would like you in this first moment, this first impression of thinking about us as an employer. This is how I want you to think about us. Again, go back to safety, go back to Volvo. Volvo doesn't kind of talk to you for 20 minutes and say, oh yeah, by the way, we're a company about safety. Safety's in the headlines. Safety's in the first paragraph. Safety's in the first line of the commercial. Safety is in the first 3 words of that billboard. It's the first thing. So if you've landed here from another planet and you've never seen a car before, and you'd certainly never seen a Volvo before, and you see this ad and you go, oh, they're about safety. Like, punch you in the face level directness. Embrace that. I know. I'm punching people. I'm hitting people with wiffle bats. It's a fun class. I'm not a violent person. You got to be compelling. And the way you do that to set that frame to be compelling is with a headline. Now, some of you are thinking job postings don't have headlines, and that's sort of true. It's true in that there is not a field on most ATSs that say headline for this job. There is a field that says title, and that means what is the job title? How do you want this to be seen? But to take a line, to take a lesson from email marketers and direct mail marketers and any number of content marketers, you start with a big, bold piece of text that establishes why they should read more. That is the power of a headline. And you can make one inside any ATS. You just have to use this magical character set. This is, to spell it out, open caret, H2, which means header 2, which means not the title header, but the second one under it, end caret. And then anything inside this gets big and bold and is fantastic and looks like a title. And to finish this process, you go open caret / H2 end caret. When I say it, it sounds crazy, but when you see it, it makes perfect sense. If you type this in your ATS and you've got HTML turned on, this will show up as a nice big headline. It'll be the first line in your job posting and people will see it. You may want to play with it a little bit. You may want to look at your documentation for your particular ATS, but almost all ATSs allow you to use very rudimentary HTML, which is what this is, right? We're not coding. We're not doing code injections. This is simply, I want to make a line and I want to make it look and feel like a headline. Header 2. Perfect. Play with it. Try header 3. See if you like the way that looks better. Play with it. Go for it. Now, the question, of course, is, what do you put in it? That's the fun part. You need to write something catchy. But your instinct will be to say, you're going to write something catchy about the entire job. Don't. I want you to focus on saying something catchy that sets the frame for what you're about to learn, that is compelling enough that the person will read the next paragraph. Said that way, it doesn't seem that hard. It doesn't seem so onerous. You're not trying to distill why anybody wants to change their life and take this job into a simple set of 10 words on a headline. You're simply saying something that connects to that brand idea that you've established, that is attractive enough to make them say, oh, that's interesting, I want to read more. That is all. Do not try and stuff the headline with a description of the job. I've seen that happen. It doesn't work. You just want to encourage them to say, oh, that's interesting, and read more. I often joke that a lot of what my job is to make complete strangers go, oh, that's interesting. Click. That's all I want them to do, right? I'm not going to tell them what the brand is. I'm not going to prove the brand. All I'm doing is setting the hook and starting to slowly reel them in. I don't fish, so that metaphor may be imperfect, but that's the idea. You're giving them something that makes them say, oh, that's interesting. Because think about it, on a job board or on your career site or anywhere they might see this job, they're going to be, wave after wave of a series of bullet lists that seem to say the exact same things and somehow seem to say nothing. And here you show up saying, something interesting. Well, that's interesting. I'm going to click and open it up. That's the job. That is the purpose for what we're doing here. It's got to connect to the brand. If your brand is all about innovation, find a way to show that you care about innovation. You don't have to say the word innovation, right? Coke and happiness doesn't say happiness, but they show happiness. You can start by showing innovation, by talking about something cool you do. If you're all about status, talk around status, right? If you're all about, opportunity, autonomy, if you're all about freedom of being able to make decisions, if you're all about this is an organization that cares about its people and everybody in the team rallies together when the chips are down, find a way to show that in the headline, to indicate it just enough that someone goes, oh, that's interesting. I want to know more. Click. That's the gig. Maybe it asks a question. Maybe it asks a question that the brand is the only answer, right? A question like, do you get enough freedom in your everyday in your job right now? I'm just spitballing here. I'm just making stuff up. But you're going to find a way to write that better. If what you're offering is an opportunity to their freedom to do great work, you might say, how many meetings did you have today? Right? For most of us, that question elicits a deflation of the self when you think about how many meetings we have. And it asks the question in such a way that someone says, I suspect that this person's saying there's a way to get less meetings. Click. Interesting, right? Okay. What if you ask a reader to think of what it would be like to work in a place with more, whatever your brand is? What would it be like to work in a place where you're more empowered? Oh, I want to know. Tell me more. Click. What would it be like to work in a place where you could close your laptop up at 5 o'clock and not worry about it after that? Oh, that's interesting. Click. There's lots of ways to set this up. You can declare it directly if you want, and maybe that's a good place to start. I'm not a copywriter, and you aren't a copywriter, but I've still written really good headlines, things that are compelling, and you can too. There's lots of resources you can go look at to write better subject lines and headings and stuff like that. Go look at it. Click around. There's good ways of understanding that. Just remember, it's got to be attractive and compelling enough to get people to click a link, and it's got to set that brand. This is their first impression of you. You want them to start thinking of you as your brand. Set the brand. Hold on, we're not done yet. You've written a great headline. Congratulations, you're way ahead of most people. Most people just go bullet, bullet, bullet. We are looking for a blah, 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 and it's boring, and it's a legal document, and it sucks, and no one wants it. Headline is a great step forward. Now we want to pay it out. Remember, the goal of the headline was to get someone to read more. Now you're going to get them to read more. So here's the thing they're going to read. The goal of that first paragraph is to talk a little bit more about what's true of that company, your brand, that thing that you're offering. You could tell a little story about how someone got a lot of this thing that you're offering and how it made them feel, or how it let them do better work, or how it enabled them to do something, 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 something. I don't know. But you can tell more about what people got out of what you gave them. That's what the first paragraph is for, to pay out either the question or the challenge or the idea planted in the headline. The second paragraph is about taking what's true for the team that lines up to that brand. So the first paragraph is about the company. The second is about the team. You're getting slowly more specific as to how this idea connects to that person. You're effectively localizing it in real time. This is really cool stuff, right? You get a headline that says, how many meetings have you had this week? And they go, oh God, and they click the link and they say, look, at our company, we understand that you do your best work when you're not in a meeting. So we have these 2 rules. You can't have a meeting that has this, and no meetings on Thursday. That's incredibly specific, by the way, and incredibly powerful because it's specific. Saying this is how much you're committed to it. You have rules, you have policies about not having too many meetings is great. And they say, oh, wow, what must it be like? How does one do my job without so many meetings? And then you get to the second paragraph where you talk about that team and how having no meetings allows them to do blah, 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 blah. Now you have really got that candidate excited. You have really got them interested. They are starting to associate your brand with this idea. Yay! You are doing amazing work already. Just some simple things. So, to close this chapter, to close this class, there's one more thing I want you to do. It really kind of closes the loop on this idea. You can do a million different changes to your job postings, and I'm sure there are plenty of people who could talk about job postings in depth and be copywriters. I'm not here for that. I'm here to say, how do you set that brand so that they look for it the next time they engage with you? When they're at the career site or LinkedIn or a video, they're saying, oh, this is a company that cares about fewer meetings, and they see that more and more often. You've set the frame. This is how they see you now. Great. The last thing you do when it comes to job postings is not actually about the job posting itself. What I'd like you to do is go into your ATS or into your whatever HR ops systems you have that automates the thanks for applying email. Almost everybody has that these days, right? We got your resume, just wanted to let you know, and you have some gobbledygook about whatever. Find a way to insert your brand message there. At the top would be preferable, but if you can't, somewhere in the middle is fine. What you're doing at this is saying you got super interested because you saw this idea. And you were really interested because you saw more of that idea. You were so interested, you hit apply. And we're going to reinforce that by saying, thanks for applying. We know that you want a place where blah, 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 paying it out. It reinforces, it makes it more real, right? It's the 4th commercial you saw for Volvo about safety. And you're like, okay, we get it. You're about safety. This is how you make this stuff credible. It's a small change, but when you do it, it really, because it's automated, and think of all the people who apply for jobs who not only saw that message on the job posting, but now they're getting this reinforcing message via email. Now you're starting to really establish what this brand is about for more and more people. Next thing we're going to get to is also thinking big, but we're going to talk about career sites. See you in the next video.